Chapter 1. The hum of the hospital lights sounded like a countdown. I gripped Ethan's hand, terrified that if I let go, his pulse would stop following mine. At 20 years old, my brother wasn't just dying. He was evaporating. Modern medicine had given up. The doctors had used words like degenerative and inevitable, but all I heard was a death sentence for the only family I had left. Aria, he rasped, his eyes struggling to find mine. Go home. Rest. I forced a smile that felt like shattered glass. I'm exactly where I need to be. I lied. I shouldn't have been in a hospital. I should have been anywhere else. Doing anything else. No matter how dark, no matter how forbidden. To stop the clock. 5 years ago, a car accident took our parents. Now, the universe was coming for the rest of us. The doctors said there was no hope. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, I knew I wasn't looking for a doctor anymore. I was looking for a miracle, or a deal. That's when Elena from the hospital cafeteria pulled me aside during my break, her eyes darting nervously around the empty corridor. I heard about your brother, she said quietly. I might know something. Something unusual. Elena had always been different. She moved with an otherworldly grace, her reflexes too quick, her senses too sharp. I'd suspected but never asked. What are you talking about? I asked. She glanced around again before speaking. The bite. A werewolf bite can cure human diseases. All of them. The transformation rewrites your entire biology. My heart stopped. Werewolves are real. Very real. And very dangerous. She gripped my arm. But no pack will turn a human without serious reason. It's forbidden by pack law unless there's a blood debt, a mating bond, or what? Or a bargain worth their while. Elena's golden eyes met mine. The Bloodmoon pack is the most powerful in North America. Their alpha, Cade Thorne, is ruthless but honorable. If you have something he wants badly enough, he might agree to turn Ethan. What could I possibly have that an alpha werewolf would want? Elena's expression turned grave. That depends on what you're willing to give. 3 days later, I stood outside the Bloodmoon pack compound, a fortress of stone and steel carved into the mountainside 2 hours north of the city. The massive iron gates bore the pack symbol of blood, red moon crossed with silver claws. My hands trembled as I pressed the intercom button. State your business. The voice was male, deep, and threatening. I need to speak with Alpha Thorne. I have a proposition. Silence stretched for several heartbeats. Then, wait there. 20 minutes passed before the gates swung open. A man who could only be described as a mountain of muscle approached, his eyes glowing amber in the fading twilight. You're either very brave or very stupid, coming here alone. Desperate. I corrected. I'm desperate. He studied me with unnerving intensity, clearly scenting the air around me. Human, no weapons. He seemed almost disappointed. Follow me. And don't run. It only makes the wolves want to chase. The compound was even more intimidating on the inside. Wolves in human form patrolled the grounds, all of them radiating lethal power. The architecture was a blend of modern security and ancient fortress design, with guard towers and reinforced walls that could withstand a military assault. We entered the main building. A massive structure with soaring ceilings and walls decorated with weapons and territorial maps. My escort led me through corridors where pack members stopped to stare, their nostrils flaring as they caught my scent. Fresh meat. Someone muttered, and several wolves laughed. My escort growled, and the corridor fell silent. Show some respect. She's here to see the alpha. We stopped before an enormous wooden door, carved with scenes of wolves hunting beneath a full moon. My escort knocked once, then pushed it open without waiting for a response. Alpha. A human woman seeking an audience. Leave us. That voice. deep, commanding, and cold enough to freeze blood. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I forced myself to step inside as the door closed behind me. The office was enormous, dominated by a desk of dark wood and walls lined with books and ancient weapons. But I barely noticed the DA corps because my attention was fixed on the man rising from behind the desk. Cade Thorne was devastatingly beautiful in the most terrifying way possible. Tall and powerfully built, with dark hair that fell to his shoulders and eyes like liquid silver. His features were sharp and predatory, his presence filling the room like a physical force. He wore simple black clothing that only emphasized his raw, primal power. He was the apex predator, and I was prey in his den. Speak. He didn't invite me to sit, didn't offer any pleasantries. Just that one word, edged with impatience. I lifted my chin, refusing to show weakness. My brother is dying. He has 6 months at most. I've been told that a werewolf bite can cure him. Cade's expression didn't change. And you came to ask me to break pack law by turning a human for no reason other than compassion. His laugh was harsh and humorless. You wasted your time. I'm not asking for charity. My voice came out stronger than I felt. I'm offering a bargain. Now I had his attention. He moved around the desk with fluid, predatory grace, stopping close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. He was even more intimidating up close, radiating heat and power that made my skin prickle. What could a human woman possibly offer me? I took a deep breath, praying Elena's information was correct. Myself. His eyes narrowed. Explain. I know alpha succession requires an heir. I'll be your contracted mate for 1 year. I'll bear your child. In exchange, you save my brother's life. The words came out in a rush, my cheeks burning. After the year, we dissolve the contract. You have your heir, Ethan lives, and I go home. Cade stared at me for a long moment, his silver eyes unreadable. Then he circled me slowly, like a wolf examining potential prey. I could feel his gaze traveling over every inch of me, and I fought not to shiver. You have no idea what you're offering, he said softly, dangerously. You would enter this world knowing nothing of our ways, our laws, our violence. You would bear a child that would be half wolf, raised in this pack. You would be mine in every way that matters, bound by rituals and traditions you can't even imagine. I understand. No. You don't. He stopped in front of me again, so close I could feel his breath on my face. But you will. He was trying to intimidate me, to make me run. But he didn't understand. I had nothing left to lose. Do we have a deal or not? Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe, or grudging respect. You would sacrifice a year of your life, your body, your freedom. For your brother. I would sacrifice anything for him. Cade studied me for another long moment. Then, to my shock, he extended his hand. Don't. I'll turn your brother within the week. You'll move into the compound immediately. The claiming ceremony will be held in 3 days. I took his hand, and the moment our skin touched, I felt a jolt of electricity that made my breath catch. His eyes flared brighter silver, and his grip tightened almost painfully before he released me. What was that? I whispered. Nothing, he said flatly. But his jaw was tight, and for the first time, he looked unsettled. Marcus will show you to your quarters. Someone will bring you appropriate clothing. You don't leave the compound without an escort. You don't speak to anyone without my permission. And you obey pack hierarchy at all times. Break any of these rules, and the deal is off. I understand. Do you? He leaned in close, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. From the moment you walk out that door, you belong to me. Your life is mine. Your body is mine. Your future children are mine. You just signed away your freedom to a monster, Aria Blackwood. I hope your brother is worth it. He knew my name, Of course he did. He'd probably had me investigated the moment I pressed that intercom button. He is, I said firmly. Cade's expression was unreadable as he returned to his desk and pressed a button. Marcus appeared immediately. Show her to the East Wing. The Luna's quarters. Luna, the Alpha's mate. That's what I was now. As Marcus led me out, I glanced back once. Cade stood at the window, his silhouette dark against the fading light, looking every inch the ruthless Alpha I'd been warned about. I'd just made a deal with the devil himself. I could only pray I'd survive it. Chapter 2. The Alpha's Compound. Cade. The moment the door closed behind Aria Blackwood, I slammed my fist into the desk hard enough to crack the wood. The impact did nothing to ease the fury. And something else. Something far more dangerous. Coursing through my veins. She'd felt it. That spark of recognition when our hands touched. The first whisper of a potential mating bond. Impossible. I didn't form bonds. Not anymore. Not after Celine. I poured 3 fingers of whiskey and downed it in one burning swallow, but it did nothing to erase the memory of Aria's scent. Vanilla and something floral. Wrapped around a core of pure determination. Or the way her dark green eyes had met mine without flinching, even when every instinct should have been screaming at her to run. She had no idea what she'd walked into. No idea that I was using her just as much as she thought she was using me. The Pack Council would convene in 3 months. If I didn't have an heir or a mate, carrying one by then, they would invoke the Succession Challenge. 5 of the most powerful alphas in North America, all circling like vultures, waiting for their chance to tear apart everything my father built, everything I'd killed to protect. You accepted her offer. The voice came from the shadows near the bookshelf. I didn't turn around. Don't you have somewhere else to be, Can? My beta stepped into the light, his dark eyes sharp with concern. He'd been my second since we were teenagers, the only wolf I trusted completely. A human, Cade. After what happened with Celine. This is different. It's a contract. Nothing more. Eyes it. Kane moved closer, lowering his voice. I saw how you looked at her, and I sure as hell saw that spark when you touched. It means nothing. I poured another drink, refusing to meet his eyes. Bonds can be suppressed, ignored. It's just biology. You know it's more than that. Kane's expression darkened. The council will use her against you. They'll see her as a weakness. Then they'll underestimate her, just like you are. I finally looked at him. She walked into my office and offered herself up to save her brother. No hesitation, no fear. That takes either courage or insanity. Or desperation. All the better. Desperate people are predictable. I moved to the window, watching the pack grounds below. Wolves moved through the compound. Some in human form, others letting their animals run free. She'll give me the heir I need. The council will back down, and in a year she'll return to her human life. Simple. Nothing about this is simple. And you know it. Kane crossed his arms. What happens when she learns the truth about Celine? My jaw tightened. Celine. My promised mate, groomed from childhood to be Luna of the Bloodmoon pack. Beautiful, powerful, and completely wrong for me. She died 2 years ago, and half the pack still believed I'd killed her when she tried to reject the bond. She'll learn that I'm exactly the monster everyone thinks I am, I said coldly. Which will make it easier for her to leave when the year is up. Kane shook his head. You're playing a dangerous game. I'm surviving. There's a difference. I turned away from the window. Make sure she's guarded at all times. I don't want anyone touching her or even breathing in her direction without my permission. Possessive already? I growled, low and dangerous. She's my contracted mate. That makes her pack property until the year is up. I'm simply protecting my investment. Kane didn't look convinced, but he nodded. I'll assign Jenna and Marcus to her personal guard. They're discreet. Good. And Kane? I met his eyes. If anyone tries to hurt her, I want to know immediately. After he left, I returned to the window, my thoughts churning. 3 months until the council convened. 9 months to get Aria pregnant and ensure the heir's survival. 12 months until she walked out of my life forever. It should have been simple. So why did the thought of her leaving make my wolf howl with rage? Aria. The Luna's quarters were nothing like I'd expected. Instead of a cold, prison-like room, I found myself in a spacious suite with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the forest, a massive bed with soft linens, and furniture that was both elegant and comfortable. There was even a private bathroom with a tub large enough to swim in. A prison, but a gilded one. I'd barely had time to process my surroundings when a knock sounded. A woman entered without waiting for permission. Tall and muscular, with short blonde hair and golden eyes that marked her as a wolf. I'm Jenna, head of the Alpha's personal guard, she said bluntly. I'll be one of your escorts whenever you leave these rooms. Escorts? You mean guards? Call it what you want. She set down several bags on the bed. With clothing in your size. The claiming ceremony is in 3 days, which doesn't give us much time to prepare you. Prepare me for what? Jenna's expression was almost sympathetic. For everything. You're about to become Luna of the most powerful pack in North America, and you don't even know the basics of pack hierarchy. If you make the wrong move, say the wrong thing, show weakness in front of the wrong wolf, you could start a challenge that would get people killed. My stomach dropped. Cade didn't mention. The Alpha expects you to figure it out or die trying. That's how things work here. Jenna pulled out a sleek black dress from one of the bags. But I'm not going to let you fail. Not because I like you. I don't know you yet, but because if you fail, it makes our Alpha look weak. And weak Alphas don't last long. For the next 2 hours, Jenna gave me a crash course in pack hierarchy, traditions, and survival. I learned that wolves communicated through scent, body language, and dominance displays that humans couldn't fully perceive. I learned that challenging an alpha's mate was a death sentence, but that didn't mean wolves wouldn't test me. The claiming ceremony is public, Jenna explained. Cade will mark you in front of the entire pack. It's not the mating bite. That's private and permanent. The claiming mark is a show of possession. A warning to every wolf that you're under his protection. He's going to bite me. On the neck, where everyone can see. Jenna's expression was matter of fact. It'll hurt like hell, and you can't scream or pull away. Any sign of rejection, and the pack will view you as unworthy. Some might even challenge the bond. I felt sick. What does challenge the bond mean? It means another wolf could claim the right to take you from him. It would start a dominance fight, possibly to the death. She paused. So when he bites you, you stand there and take it. Understood. I nodded numbly. After the claiming, there's a feast. You sit at Cade's right hand, eat what he offers you first, and don't speak unless he gives permission. It's all about showing the pack that you accept his dominance and his protection. This is insane. This is pack law. You agreed to enter this world. Jenna's tone softened slightly. Look, I know it's overwhelming. But Cade is a good alpha, even if he's a bastard personally. He won't let anyone hurt you as long as you follow the rules. A good alpha. The ruthless killer Elena had warned me about. I wondered which version was real. That night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined Cade's teeth sinking into my neck, imagined hundreds of wolves watching me for any sign of weakness. What had I done? The next morning, I woke to find a woman in my room, setting out breakfast on the small table by the window. "Good morning, Luna," she said softly. She was petite and dark-haired, with kind brown eyes. "I'm Rachel. I'll be helping you prepare for the ceremony. You don't have to call me Luna. I'm just Aria." Rachel's eyes widened in alarm. "You can't say that, especially not in public. You are the Luna, contracted or not. If you deny your status, the pack will see it as weakness, and they'll tear you apart." Another lesson in survival. I was beginning to understand that everything here was a test, a constant battle for position and power. Over breakfast, which was surprisingly good, Rachel explained more about pack dynamics. "There are wolves who will resent you," she said carefully. "Human mates are rare, and some believe they weaken the bloodline. Others wanted Cade to choose one of them. Were there candidates? Several. But the alpha never showed interest in any of them." Rachel hesitated. "There was Celine." "Of course, but that was years ago." My heart skipped. Who was Celine? Rachel's face went pale. "I shouldn't have said anything, please. Don't mention her name to the alpha." "Rachel, I need to know what I'm walking into." The woman glanced at the door nervously, then lowered her voice. Celine was Cade's intended mate. She was from one of the old families, groomed since childhood to be Luna. But she died 2 years ago, under suspicious circumstances. Some say she tried to reject the bond, and the alpha killed her in rage. Others say it was a rival pack's doing. No one knows for sure, but after that, Cade changed. He became colder, more ruthless. He swore he'd never take another mate. Ice flooded my veins. And yet here I am. Yes, which means either he's desperate, or you're part of some larger plan. Rachel met my eyes. "Be careful, Luna. Cade Thorne is many things, but predictable isn't one of them." After Rachel left, I stood at the window, watching wolves move through the compound below. Somewhere down there was the man I'd agreed to bind myself to for a year. The man who might have killed his last mate. I'd walked into a nightmare, and there was no way out. A knock at the door made me turn. Marcus stood there, his expression carefully neutral. "The alpha requests your presence in his private quarters. Now." My heart hammered. Why? He doesn't explain himself to me, and I don't ask. Marcus's tone made it clear that was good advice for me, too. I followed him through the compound, very aware of every wolf we passed stopping to stare. Some looked curious, others hostile. One woman actually bared her teeth at me before Marcus growled a warning. We entered the private wing, clearly off limits based on the guards posted at every entrance, and stopped outside another massive door. Marcus knocked once. "The Luna, as requested. Send her in." I stepped inside, and the door closed behind me with an ominous click. Cade's private quarters were even larger than mine, dominated by a bed that could fit 5 people and decorated in dark, masculine tones. He stood by the fireplace, still wearing all black, looking like he'd been carved from shadow and moonlight. "Come here," he commanded. I forced myself to move closer, stopping a few feet away. His eyes tracked every movement, and I felt like prey under a predator's gaze. "The claiming ceremony is tomorrow night," he said. "Before then, we need to establish some things." "Like what?" "Like boundaries, expectations." He moved closer, and I fought the urge to back away. "I don't expect love, affection, or anything beyond what our contract requires. You'll play the role of Luna in public, but in private, you stay out of my way. Don't ask me personal questions, don't try to fix me, and don't ever mention Celine's name." So he knew Rachel had told me. Of course he did. He probably knew everything that happened in this compound. "Fine," I said. "And what do you expect in terms of the heir?" His jaw tightened. "We'll cross that bridge when necessary. The bond needs to be established first. which means getting through the claiming ceremony without incident. Jenna told me about the bite. Did she tell you it would hurt? Yes. Did she tell you that some humans pass out from the pain? My breath caught. No. If you pass out, you'll be seen as weak. The pack will question whether you're fit to bear my hair. He stepped even closer, until I could feel the heat radiating from his body. So you're going to stand there and take it, Aria. No crying, no screaming, no falling. Understand. I lifted my chin. I understand. Something flashed in his eyes. That same surprise I'd seen yesterday. You're either very brave or very foolish. Everyone keeps saying that. Because it's true. He reached out suddenly, and I flinched before I could stop myself. His hand froze inches from my face, and his expression darkened. I'm not going to hurt you. Not unless you give me reason to. His fingers brushed my cheek, so gently it shocked me. The touch sent that same electric jolt through my body, and I gasped. Cade pulled back immediately, his eyes flaring silver. The bond is trying to form, he said, his voice rough. Ignore it. It's just biology. Nothing more. But the way he was looking at me suggested it was anything but nothing. Get some rest, he said abruptly, turning away. Tomorrow night will test every ounce of strength you have. I was dismissed. But as I reached the door, his voice stopped me. Aria. I turned back. Don't make me regret this deal. I wanted to say something defiant, something that would prove I wasn't afraid. But the truth was, I was terrified. Terrified of tomorrow, of this bond forming between us, of the wolves who wanted to see me fail. So instead, I simply nodded and left, feeling his gaze burning into my back until the door closed between us. One day until the claiming ceremony. One day until there was no turning back. Chapter 3. The claiming ceremony area. The day of the ceremony passed in a blur of preparations. Rachel and Jenna worked together to transform me into something worthy of standing beside an alpha. The dress was black silk that clung to every curve, with a neckline that left my throat and shoulders completely bare, ready for the claiming mark. You look beautiful, Rachel said softly, adjusting my hair one last time. She'd left it long and loose, cascading down my back in dark waves. The alpha won't be able to take his eyes off you. I caught Jenna's expression in the mirror, skeptical but approving. Remember what I taught you. Eye contact only when he grants it. Never turn your back on the pack. Stay close to him at all times. My hands trembled as I smoothed down the dress. In a few hours, I would stand before hundreds of werewolves and let their alpha mark me as his. The enormity of it made my chest tight with panic. I can't do this, I whispered. Yes, you can. Jenna gripped my shoulders, forcing me to meet her eyes. You survived walking into this compound alone. You survived meeting Cade Thorne and living to tell the tale. You're stronger than you think. And if I'm not, then you fake it until you are. That's what survival looks like. As sunset approached, Marcus arrived to escort me to the ceremony grounds. The entire pack had gathered in a massive clearing lit by hundreds of torches, creating dancing shadows that made the wolves look even more otherworldly. A raised platform stood at the center, and on it was a throne carved from black stone. Cade sat there, looking every inch the Savage King. He wore black leather that emphasized his powerful build. His dark hair pulled back to reveal the sharp planes of his face. His silver eyes found me the moment I entered the clearing, and the intensity of his gaze made my breath catch. The crowd parted as Marcus led me forward. I felt hundreds of eyes on me, heard the whispers that followed in my wake. Human. Weak. She'll never survive? I kept my chin high, refusing to show fear even as my heart hammered against my ribs. When we reached the platform, Marcus bowed to Cade, then stepped aside. Cade rose from the throne, and the entire pack fell silent. His presence was overwhelming, pure alpha dominance that made every wolf there submit instinctively. When he descended the steps toward me, it took everything I had not to back away. He stopped inches away, close enough that I could see the flecks of blue in his silver eyes. "Are you ready?" "No." "Yes." His hand cupped my jaw, tilting my head back. His thumb brushed over my racing pulse, and his eyes darkened. "Don't fight me. Don't pull away. Trust me." Before I could respond, he pulled me flush against him. His other hand tangled in my hair, angling my head to expose my throat. I felt his breath hot against my skin, felt the scrape of teeth, and then pain exploded through me as his teeth sank into the junction of my neck and shoulder. It was like being branded with molten silver, fire racing through every nerve. I gasped, my hands clutching at his shoulders, but I didn't scream. I didn't pull away. I held on and endured. The pain shifted, transforming into something else. Heat flooded my veins, and with it came a surge of foreign emotions that weren't mine. Protectiveness, possessiveness, and beneath it all, something that felt dangerously like longing. Cade's emotions. I was feeling what he felt. When he finally released me, blood stained his lips. He licked it away slowly, deliberately, his eyes never leaving mine. Then he turned to address the pack, his arm around my waist keeping me upright when my legs threatened to give out. "Behold your Luna," he declared, his voice carrying across the clearing. "Mine to protect. Mine to cherish. Mine." The pack responded with a howl that raised every hair on my body. It was primal, wild, beautiful, and terrifying all at once. Cade guided me to the throne, making me sit beside him on a smaller chair that had been placed there. The feast began, and just as Jenna had instructed, I ate only what Cade offered me first. Meat he tore with his hands and fed to me directly, a display of dominance and care that made several wolves bare their throats in submission. But not everyone was pleased. I caught sight of a stunning blonde woman glaring at me with undisguised hatred. When she noticed me looking, she smiled cruelly and dragged one finger across her throat. Cade must have noticed my tension because his hand found mine, squeezing once. A warning or reassurance, I wasn't sure. The feast lasted hours. Wolves came forward to present offerings, weapons, furs, jewelry, all of which Cade accepted or rejected with a single word. Some approached and bowed deeply to me, others merely nodded, testing how much respect I'd demand. I was exhausted by the time Cade finally stood, pulling me up beside him. "The ceremony is complete," he announced. "Return to your homes." The pack dispersed slowly, reluctantly. The blonde woman was one of the last to leave, her eyes promising violence before she disappeared into the darkness. "Who was that?" I asked quietly as Cade led me back toward the compound. "Sabrina. She was one of the candidates vying to be Luna." His tone was flat, uninterested. "Ignore her. She's all bark and no bite." I wasn't so sure about that, but I was too tired to argue. When we reached my quarters, Cade surprised me by following me inside. The door closed, sealing us in together, and suddenly the room felt far too small. "Let me see," he said, gesturing to the claiming mark. I turned, sweeping my hair aside. His fingers brushed over the bite, surprisingly gentle, and I shivered at the contact. "It's healing already. By morning, it'll be a scar." He stepped back, creating distance between us. "You did well tonight. Better than I expected. You expected me to fail. I expected you to at least cry." His eyes searched my face. "Why didn't you?" "Because I made a deal and I keep my promises." I met his gaze. "Besides, showing weakness would have put you at risk." "I won't do that." Something shifted in his expression. "You protected me. Why?" The question caught me off guard. "We're in this together, aren't we? If you fall, I fall." That's not how most contracted mates think. They usually care only about their own survival. Then I guess I'm not most contracted mates. Cade stared at me for a long moment, and in his eyes, I saw confusion, suspicion, and something that might have been respect. No, he said softly. You're definitely not. He moved toward the door but paused with his hand on the handle. The bond will get stronger now that you wear my mark. You'll feel my emotions sometimes, and I'll feel yours. Try to ignore it. Is that possible? It has to be. His jaw tightened. Because in a year, you're leaving, and I can't afford to. He cut himself off. Get some rest, Aria. Tomorrow, your real training begins. After he left, I touched the mark on my neck, feeling the raised edges of the healing wound. Cade's mark. His claim. I'd survived the ceremony, but somehow I felt more trapped than ever. Because I'd felt his emotions during the bite, and beneath all that cold control, I'd sensed something raw and aching. Cade Thorne was hiding something, and I was terrified to discover what it was. Chapter 4. Beneath the mask. Cade. I stood in my private training room, driving my fists into the heavy bag with enough force to send it swinging wildly on its chain. Blood dripped from my knuckles. I'd been at this for over an hour, but the physical pain did nothing to quiet the chaos in my mind. Aria's scent. Vanilla and determination, now mixed with my own scent from the claiming mark. It was driving my wolf insane with possessive satisfaction. Mine, it growled. Ours? She's a contract, I snarled out loud, hitting the bag harder. Nothing more. But even as I said it, I knew it was a lie. The moment my teeth had sunk into her soft skin, the moment her hands had gripped my shoulders, and she'd stood there taking the pain without flinching, something inside me had shifted. She hadn't just endured. She'd protected me by not showing weakness. No one had done that for me since. No. I wouldn't think about Celine. That was a grave I'd sealed 2 years ago. You're going to break your hands if you keep that up. Kane's voice came from the doorway. Or have you finally lost your mind completely? I caught the bag, breathing hard. What do you want? To talk about your new mate. The one you can't stop thinking about. He moved closer, his expression serious. The pack is talking, Cade. Half of them are impressed that she survived the ceremony without breaking. The other half think she's too weak, and that you should choose someone else. Let them talk. I don't answer to gossip. You answer to the council, and they're circling. Kane pulled out his phone, showing me a message. Theron just confirmed he'll be here for the gathering in 3 months. So will Alexandra and Victor. They're coming to assess whether you're fit to continue leading. Theron, Alexandra, and Victor. 3 of the 5 most powerful alphas in North America. If they decided I was unfit, they could invoke the succession challenge. And unlike me, they didn't fight fair. 3 months, I said grimly. That's not enough time. To get her pregnant, maybe not. But it's enough time to make them believe the bond is real. Kane's eyes narrowed. Unless it already is. I glared at him. Don't. You felt something during the claiming. I saw it on your face. It was just the ritual. Blood magic, nothing more. Keep telling yourself that. Kane crossed his arms. But I've known you since we were kids, and I've never seen you look at anyone the way you looked at her tonight. Not even Celine. The mention of her name made my wolf snarl with grief and rage. Celine is dead because I wasn't strong enough to protect her. I won't make that mistake again. Then protect Aria. Actually protect her, not just go through the motions. Kane's expression softened. She stood up there tonight and took a claiming bite without flinching. She's got more courage than half the wolves in this pack. Don't waste that. After Kane left, I returned to my quarters, but sleep was impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Aria's face, the determination in her green eyes, the way she'd held onto me instead of pulling away, the small gasp she'd made when the bond had flared to life between us. I'd felt her emotions in that moment. Fear, yes, but also fierce protectiveness. She'd been protecting me. No one had done that in 2 years, not since Celine died, and the entire pack had looked at me like a monster. Maybe they were right to. Aria. The next morning, I woke to find my neck completely healed, except for a silvery scar in the shape of Cade's bite. I traced it with my fingers, remembering the pain, the heat, and those strange emotions that hadn't been mine. A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. Jenna entered, carrying workout clothes. "Time for training," she announced. "If you're going to survive as Luna, you need to know how to defend yourself." For the next 3 hours, she put me through a brutal workout that left me sweating and sore. She taught me basic self-defense moves, how to recognize threatening body language in wolves, and where to strike if I was ever cornered. "You'll never beat a wolf in a straight fight," she explained. "But you can buy yourself enough time to call for help. The alpha's name carries power. Use it if you have to." We were taking a water break when Sabrina appeared, flanked by 2 other female wolves. All 3 were beautiful, powerful, and looking at me like I was something they'd scraped off their shoes. "So this is our new Luna?" Sabrina purred, circling me slowly. "A fragile little human who probably can't even shift." "I don't need to shift to be Luna," I said, keeping my voice steady. "No." "Then, what exactly do you bring to the pack?" Her eyes raked over me with contempt. "You're weak, breakable. The moment Cade tires of you, you'll be nothing." Jenna growled a warning. "Back off, Sabrina. She's under the alpha's protection." "For now." Sabrina leaned in close enough that I could smell her perfume, something musky and aggressive. But accidents happen. Humans are so delicate. It would be a shame if you fell down the stairs, or wandered into the forest alone. Or, is there a problem here? Cade's voice cut through the tension like a blade. He stood at the entrance to the training yard, radiating enough dominance that all 3 women immediately dropped their eyes and bared their throats in submission. All except Sabrina, who held his gaze a moment too long. "No problem. Alpha. Just getting to know our new Luna." "Then you're done getting to know her." His tone could have frozen fire. "Leave." Now, they fled, and Cade's attention turned to me. His eyes scanned me from head to toe, checking for injuries. "Did she hurt you?" "No. Just words. Words can be weapons here." He moved closer, his hand coming up to brush over the claiming mark on my neck. The touch sent electricity racing through me, and I saw his pupils dilate in response. "You should have used my name, invoked my protection. I can fight my own battles." His jaw tightened. "Not here, you can't. Pack hierarchy is brutal area. Sabrina is a dominant wolf from an old bloodline. If she decides to challenge you without my protection, she could kill you before anyone intervenes." The casual way he said it made my blood run cold. "So I'm just supposed to hide behind you?" "You're supposed to survive." His hand dropped, and he stepped back, creating distance again. "Come with me. We need to talk." He led me through the compound to his office. Once inside, he poured himself a drink and offered me one. I declined. I needed a clear head. "The Pack Council is gathering in 3 months," he said without preamble. "Representatives from the 5 great packs will be here to assess my leadership. If they determine I'm unfit, they can invoke a succession challenge." What does that mean? It means other alphas can challenge me for control of the Bloodmoon pack. The challenges are to the death. He downed his whiskey in one swallow. "The council has been looking for an excuse to remove me ever since Celine died." There it was again. Celine. I hesitated, then asked carefully, "What happened to her?" His expression went completely blank. "I told you never to mention her name. And I told you I need to know what I'm walking into." I stood my ground. "If I'm going to be your Luna, even temporarily, I deserve to know why the pack thinks you killed your last mate." For a long moment, I thought he would refuse. Then he turned to face the window, his back to me. "Celine was chosen for me when we were children. Perfect bloodline, perfect breeding, perfect Luna candidate. We were raised to believe the bond would form naturally when we came of age." He paused, and I waited. It didn't. We had no connection, no chemistry. But pack law demanded we mate anyway. My father was dying, and I needed to secure the succession. His voice was hollow. Celine tried to accept it. We went through the claiming ceremony. But when it came time for the mating bite, the permanent bond, she couldn't do it. She rejected me. My chest tightened. What happened? Rejection can kill an alpha. The pain, the severing of the partial bond. It's like being ripped apart from the inside. His hands clenched into fists. I survived, but Celine, she disappeared that night. 3 days later, they found her body in the forest. Throat torn out. Horror washed over me. "Did you kill her?" He turned to face me, and his eyes were devastated. "No, but I might as well have. She ran because of me, because I pushed her into a bond she didn't want. And someone, one of my enemies, found her and murdered her, knowing it would destroy me." The raw pain in his voice made my heart ache. This wasn't the cold, ruthless alpha everyone feared. This was a man carrying an unbearable weight of guilt. "The pack blamed me," he continued. "Some believe I killed her in a rage. Others think I let her die because she rejected me. Either way, I failed to protect my mate. That made me weak in their eyes." "That's why you need the heir," I said softly, understanding. "To prove you're strong enough to lead. Yes, if I can produce an heir, it shows the council that I'm capable of maintaining the bloodline. It gives them less ammunition to remove me." He met my eyes. "That's why I accepted your offer so quickly, Aria. I'm using you just as much as you're using me." The honesty was brutal, but strangely reassuring. At least we both knew where we stood. "Thank you for telling me," I said. "Don't thank me. I just made you a bigger target." He moved to his desk, pulling out a small velvet box. "Here, you'll need to wear this." Inside was a ring, a stunning piece with a large moonstone surrounded by diamonds. It caught the light and seemed to glow from within. "The Luna's ring," Cade explained. "It's been in my family for 6 generations. It's a symbol of your position and my protection." He took my hand, and the moment his skin touched mine, that electric connection sparked to life again. His breath caught, and I saw him fighting whatever he was feeling. Slowly, carefully, he slid the ring onto my finger. It fit perfectly. "There," he said roughly, still holding my hand. "Now everyone will know you're mine." The possessiveness in his voice should have frightened me. Instead, it sent a warm shiver down my spine. "Cade," I whispered. He pulled away abruptly, putting distance between us again. "You should rest. Tomorrow you'll meet with the pack healer to begin preparations." I knew what he meant, preparations for pregnancy, for the heir that would save both our lives. "Okay," I said quietly. As I turned to leave, his voice stopped me. "Aria, you asked me if I killed Celine. I need to know. Do you believe me?" I looked back at him, at the vulnerability he was trying so hard to hide. "Yes, I believe you." Relief flashed across his face, so quick I almost missed it. "Why?" "Because a man who kills his mate doesn't look the way you do when you talk about her. You loved her even without the bond." "I failed her," he said flatly. "Maybe. But that doesn't make you a killer." I met his eyes. "It makes you human." or as close to human as an alpha wolf can be. For the first time since I'd met him, Cade Thorne smiled. It was small and sad, but it was real. "Get some rest, little Luna," he said softly. "And stay away from Sabrina." I left him there, standing alone in his office, looking every inch the lonely king he was. And I realized with a jolt of fear that I was starting to care about him. Not just as the man who could save Ethan, but as the tortured soul hiding behind a ruthless mask. This was not part of the plan. Chapter 5. Secrets and Shadows. Aria. 3 weeks passed in a blur of training, pack politics, and careful navigation of the dangerous world I'd entered. The claiming mark on my neck had fully healed into a silvery scar that seemed to shimmer in certain light. A permanent reminder that I belonged to Cade Thorne, at least temporarily. Rachel had become my guide through pack culture, teaching me the subtle nuances of wolf communication. I learned that a tilt of the head could mean submission, that holding eye contact too long was a challenge, and that the way wolves positioned themselves in a room told entire stories about power and allegiance. I also learned that many pack members were watching me, waiting for me to fail. "You're doing better than expected," Jenna admitted one afternoon after a particularly grueling self-defense session. "Most humans would have cracked by now." "Maybe I'm too stubborn to crack," I said, wiping sweat from my forehead. "Or too stubborn to realize when you should run." She gave me an assessing look. "The alpha has been different since you arrived." "Different how?" "Less isolated. He actually came to the pack dinner last week." "He never does that." She paused. "And he watches you constantly, even when he thinks no one notices." My heart did a strange flip. I'd noticed it too. The way Cade's eyes always seemed to find me in a crowded room, the way he positioned himself between me and any potential threat, the way his jaw tightened whenever another male wolf got too close. But he maintained distance between us. We'd barely spoken privately since the night he told me about Celine. He was keeping his promise to make this arrangement purely transactional. So why did that feel disappointing? "Speaking of the alpha," Jenna continued, "he wants to see you. Something about visiting your brother." My heart leaped. "Ethan, is he?" "The turning is scheduled for tonight." The alpha kept his end of the bargain. I nearly collapsed with relief. After everything I'd endured, Ethan would finally be saved. I found Cade in his office, reviewing documents. He looked up when I entered, and something in his expression softened, just for a moment, before the cold mask returned. "You heard," he said. "Thank you. I don't know how to. It's part of our deal." "Don't thank me." But his tone lacked its usual sharp edge. "The turning will happen at moonrise. It's dangerous, especially for someone as sick as your brother. He might not survive." Fear clutched at me. "What are the odds?" 70-30. Maybe 60-40 if the disease has progressed too far." He set down his papers. "You should be there. If he survives, he'll need a familiar face. If he doesn't..." He didn't finish that sentence. "Can I go to the hospital? See him before?" Cade hesitated, then nodded. "I'll take you myself. We leave in an hour." The drive to the hospital was silent, Cade's powerful presence filling the SUV even without words. Kane drove while Marcus sat in the passenger seat, both acting as security. I was learning that Cade never went anywhere without protection, a reminder that he had as many enemies as he had subjects. When we arrived, Cade's appearance caused immediate tension. Hospital staff stepped back, some baring their throats in submission. They were wolves too, part of a network I hadn't known existed. Only the human staff seemed unaware, though they certainly noticed the commanding, dangerous man moving through their corridors. Ethan was sleeping when I entered his room, and my heart broke at how fragile he looked. He'd lost more weight, his skin almost translucent. His breathing labored even in sleep. I took his hand, and his eyes fluttered open. Aria. His voice was barely a whisper. You look different. I touched the claiming mark self-consciously. A lot has changed. Is that him? Ethan's gaze shifted to Cade, who stood by the door like a dark sentinel. The one you made the deal with. Yes. Ethan, this is Cade Thorne. He's going to save you. Ethan studied Cade with surprising intensity for someone so weak. What did my sister have to give you in return? That's between us, Cade said, but not unkindly. She's the only family I have. Despite his weakness, there was steel in Ethan's voice. If you hurt her... Ethan, I interrupted gently. It's okay. This was my choice. Choices made under duress aren't really choices, Ethan said, looking at Cade. But I'm too tired and too selfish to refuse. So I'll accept your help, Alpha Thorne, and I'll spend the rest of my life making sure my sister doesn't regret it. Something flickered in Cade's expression. Surprise, maybe respect. I'll hold you to that. We stayed for another hour, and I explained what would happen. Ethan would be transported to the pack compound, where Cade would perform the turning under controlled conditions. It would be agonizing, every bone breaking and reforming, his entire physiology rewriting itself. But if he survived, he'd be stronger than he'd ever been. I'm scared, Ethan admitted quietly after Cade, and the others stepped out to give us privacy. Me too, I said, squeezing his hand. But you're the strongest person I know. You'll survive this, and after. Will I be a monster? You'll be a werewolf. There's a difference? I smiled. Besides, you could never be a monster. You're too much of a pain in the ass. He laughed weakly, then grew serious. Aria, I need you to promise me something. If I don't make it, you will. Promise me you'll be happy. Don't spend your life sacrificing for everyone else. Do something for yourself just once. Tears burned my eyes. I promise. Cade. I watched through the window as Aria said goodbye to her brother, and something in my chest constricted painfully. The love between them was obvious, pure in a way that I'd rarely seen in my world of pack politics and power struggles. She'd given up a year of her life, her freedom, her body, all to save him. That kind of loyalty was rare. Dangerous, too, because it made me wonder what it would be like to have someone love me that fiercely. She's good for you, Kane said quietly beside me. Even if you won't admit it. She's a contract. Nothing more. Keep telling yourself that, brother. Kane's expression turned serious. The turning tonight is risky. If the boy dies, he won't. I said it with more certainty than I felt. I'll make sure of it. Since when do you care about keeping humans alive? Since I saw the way she looked at her brother. Since I realized that if Ethan died, it would destroy her. And the thought of that light in her eyes going out made my wolf howl with rage. But I couldn't say that to Kane. Hell, I could barely admit it to myself. We transported Ethan to the compound as the sun began to set. He was barely conscious, his body shutting down. We had maybe hours before the disease killed him. In the ritual chamber, a room deep beneath the compound, carved from stone and marked with ancient pack symbols. I laid Ethan on the stone altar. Aria stood beside him, holding his hand, her face pale but composed. This will hurt him, I warned her. More than you can imagine. He'll scream. He might beg you to stop. You can't interfere. I understand, she said, though her hand trembled. If something goes wrong, if his body starts to reject the change, I'll have to end it quickly. Mercifully. I held her gaze. Do you understand what I'm saying? She understood. If Ethan didn't survive the turning, I'd have to kill him to prevent a worse death. Do it, she whispered. I called upon the ancient power that lived in every alpha. the ability to share our curse, our gift. My eyes blazed silver as I let the wolf rise to the surface, claws extending, fangs dropping. Then I bit Ethan's shoulder, pumping wolf venom directly into his bloodstream. His reaction was immediate. His body convulsed, his back arching off the stone. The scream that tore from his throat was inhuman, agonized. Aria flinched but didn't let go of his hand. "It started," I said, stepping back. "Now we wait." The turning lasted 3 hours. 3 hours of watching Ethan's body break and reform, of hearing his screams echo off the stone walls, of seeing Aria's face grow paler with each passing minute, even as she kept whispering encouragement to her brother. Cain and Marcus stood guard at the door, ready to intervene if Ethan turned feral. It happened sometimes. The wolf took over completely, and the human was lost. Those poor souls had to be put down. But Ethan fought. I could see him struggling to maintain control, even as his bones snapped and reformed, even as fur rippled across his skin before receding. The disease fought back too, trying to maintain its hold. But wolf venom was stronger. Finally, as dawn approached, Ethan's body went still. His breathing evened out. His eyes opened, and they were the golden amber of a newly turned wolf. "Aria," he croaked. She sobbed, pulling him into her arms. "You did it. You're alive." I felt a strange tightness in my chest watching them. Relief, yes, but something else. Something that felt dangerously like longing for the kind of unconditional love they shared. "He needs to rest," I said quietly. "The next few days will be difficult as his wolf settles. He'll have training, learn control, but he'll live." Aria looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you. Thank you so much." Before I could stop her, she'd crossed the space between us and wrapped her arms around me. The gesture shocked me so completely that I froze, unsure how to respond. She was hugging me. Actually hugging me, like I was someone worth thanking instead of the monster everyone believed me to be. Slowly, carefully, I brought my arms up to return the embrace. She felt small and fragile against me, yet I'd seen her strength. She smelled like vanilla and something uniquely her, and my wolf purred with satisfaction at having her close. "You kept your promise," she whispered against my chest. "I won't forget that." When she pulled away, I immediately missed her warmth. She returned to Ethan's side while Marcus and Cain helped transport him to the recovery rooms. I should have left then, should have maintained my distance. But instead, I stayed, watching Aria curl up in the chair beside her brother's bed, her hand holding his even in sleep. She'd entered my world to save someone she loved. She'd endured pain, fear, and uncertainty without breaking. And I was starting to realize that I'd made a terrible mistake. Because this was supposed to be a simple transaction. But somewhere between the claiming ceremony and this moment, watching her show more courage than most of my warriors, I'd started to feel something I'd sworn I'd never feel again. I was falling for Aria Blackwood. And that could destroy us both. Chapter 6. The mating bond awakens. Aria. Ethan's recovery was remarkable. Within 3 days, he'd gone from death's door to walking around with an energy he'd never had even before getting sick. The wolf transformation had healed everything. Not just the disease, but old injuries, weakened organs, everything. He was assigned to the new wolves training program, where he'd learn control and pack hierarchy. I barely saw him, which was both a relief and strange. For 5 years, my entire life had revolved around keeping him alive. Now he didn't need me anymore, which left me with too much time to think about Cade. I hadn't seen him since the night of Ethan's turning. He'd avoided me completely, sending Marcus or Jenna whenever he needed to communicate something. The distance should have been a relief. This was supposed to be a business arrangement. But instead, I found myself looking for him in crowded rooms, listening for his voice in the hallways. The mating bond was getting stronger. I could feel it. A pull toward him that had nothing to do with logic and everything to do with something primal and undeniable. Sometimes, late at night, I'd feel echoes of his emotions. Loneliness, anger, and beneath it all, a longing that matched my own. It was driving me crazy. "You need to talk to him," Rachel said one morning as she braided my hair. "This avoidance isn't healthy for either of you." "He's the one avoiding me." "Because he's scared." At my skeptical look, she continued. "The alpha hasn't let anyone close since Celine died. You're threatening that carefully built wall, and he doesn't know how to handle it." "I'm not trying to threaten anything. This was supposed to be simple." Rachel's hands stilled. "Nothing about mating bonds is simple, Luna. Especially not when they're real." That night, I couldn't sleep. The bond thrummed beneath my skin, pulling me toward the private wing where Cade's quarters were located. I tried to resist, but at 2 a.m, I finally gave in. The guards at the wing entrance looked surprised to see me, but let me pass. I was the Luna, after all. I moved through the silent corridors until I stood outside Cade's door. I raised my hand to knock, then hesitated. What was I even doing? The door opened before I could decide, and Cade stood there in nothing but low, slung sweatpants, his muscular chest bare, his dark hair disheveled. His silver eyes were blazing, and I realized he'd felt me approaching through the bond. "Aria." His voice was rough, strained. "You shouldn't be here." I couldn't sleep. "Neither could I." His jaw clenched. "Go back to your room." "No." His eyes flashed dangerously. "That wasn't a request. And I'm not one of your pack members to be ordered around." I stepped closer, and I saw his control waver. "Why are you avoiding me?" "Because it's safer this way." "For who?" "For both of us." He ran his hand through his hair in frustration. "You feel it too, don't you? The bond getting stronger. The pull between us." "Yes," I admitted. "Then you understand why I need to stay away. This was supposed to be a contract area. Nothing more. But if we give in to the bond, if we let it fully form." He cut himself off, turning away from me. "What? What happens if the bond fully forms?" "It becomes permanent, unbreakable. You'd be tied to me for life, not just a year. And when you left, it would destroy us both." The pain in his voice made my heart ache. "Who says I'd want to leave?" He spun back to face me, and the raw emotion in his eyes took my breath away. Don't say things you don't mean." "I mean it." I moved closer, drawn by that magnetic pull. "Cade, I came here expecting a monster. But that's not what I found. You don't know me. You don't know the things I've done, the blood on my hands." "Then tell me." "Stop pushing me away and talk to me." For a long moment we stood there, the air between us crackling with tension and unspoken need. Then Cade stepped back, creating distance again. "I can't," he said roughly. "I won't be responsible for trapping you in a bond you never wanted." "What about what I want now?" "In a year, you'll return to your human life and forget all about the ruthless alpha who used you for an heir." His voice was bitter. "That was the deal. Deals can change. Not this one." He moved to the door, opening it. "A clear dismissal. Go back to your room, Aria. Before I do something we'll both regret." The dismissal stung, but beneath his harsh words, I felt his emotions through the bond. Longing, fear, and something that felt heartbreakingly like hope. I left, but as I walked back to my quarters, I made a decision. Cade Thorne was determined to protect me from the bond, to keep me at arm's length for my own good. But I was done playing it safe. I'd entered this world to save Ethan, but I was staying for myself. And I was going to prove to Cade that some bonds were worth the risk. "Cade, I slammed my fist into the wall the moment Aria left, cracking the plaster. My wolf was howling with rage at letting her walk away, demanding I go after her and claim what was ours. But I couldn't. I wouldn't trap her the way I'd trapped Celine. Smooth? Kane said from the shadows. Of course he'd been listening. Really smooth? Go away. She just told you she doesn't want to leave. And you threw her out. Kane moved into the light, his expression a mix of exasperation and concern. You're an idiot. I'm protecting her. From what? Happiness? A real mate bond? Kane shook his head. Celine's death wasn't your fault, Cade. When are you going to stop punishing yourself? When I stop seeing her body every time I close my eyes, I snarled. When I stop knowing that she died because I wasn't strong enough to protect her. Aria isn't Celine. She's stronger than you give her credit for. Which is why she deserves better than being chained to me for eternity. I paced the room like a caged animal. In a year, she goes free. That was the deal. And if she doesn't want to go free? I didn't answer because I couldn't. The thought of Aria choosing to stay, of the bond fully forming between us, of having someone by my side who actually wanted to be there. It was everything I wanted and everything I was terrified of. The next morning, I was reviewing council documents when Marcus burst in without knocking. Alpha, we have a problem. Ethan Blackwood just challenged one of the trainers. My blood ran cold. New wolves were unstable, prone to losing control. If Ethan hurt someone, I'd have to discipline him severely, possibly even exile him. And that would devastate Aria. I found them in the training yard, a crowd of wolves gathered around. Ethan stood in fighting stance, his eyes blazing gold, facing off against Derek, a seasoned warrior who'd been with the pack for 20 years. Stand down, I commanded, my alpha power washing over everyone. Immediately, the crowd dropped their eyes and bared their throats. Even Derek submitted. But Ethan held his ground, his wolf too new to fully understand what he was facing. He insulted my sister, he growled. What did you say? I asked Derek coldly. The warrior looked uncomfortable. I merely commented that the Luna was human and therefore weak, alpha. I meant no disrespect. You called my sister weak. Ethan's voice was dangerous despite his inexperience. She's the strongest person I know. She sacrificed everything for me. She's worth 10 of you. Something in my chest warmed at his fierce defense of Aria. The boy had courage, even if he lacked control. Stand down, Ethan, I said, moderating my tone slightly. Derek, you'll apologize to the Luna personally for your disrespect. And you'll spend the next month on patrol duty in the outer territories. Alpha, are you questioning my judgment? Derek's eyes widened. No. Alpha, then go. As the crowd dispersed, I approached Ethan. His eyes were still gold, his wolf riding close to the surface. Walk with me. We moved away from the training yard, toward the forest edge. You can't challenge every wolf who insults your sister, I said. There will be many. Humans aren't respected in pack hierarchy. Then they're idiots, Ethan said bluntly. Aria is the only reason I'm alive. She's the only reason you have a shot at the heir you need. Without her, you'd both be screwed. I nearly smiled at his audacity. You're not wrong. But defending her honor isn't your responsibility. It's mine. She's my mate. Contracted mate. Ethan corrected. For 1 year. Then she goes home, right? The reminder sent a spike of pain through my chest. That was the arrangement. Ethan stopped walking and turned to face me, his young face surprisingly serious. Do you want her to leave? The question caught me off guard. What I want is irrelevant. That's not an answer. His eyes, so much like Aria's, studied me intently. I've seen how you look at her. Like she's the only thing in the room that matters. And I've seen how she looks at you when you're not watching. Like you're not the monster everyone thinks you are. I am a monster, Ethan. I've killed more people than you've met in your entire life. I've made decisions that haunt me every day. Your sister deserves better. Maybe. But she chose you anyway. He crossed his arms. Are you going to honor that choice? Or are you going to be a coward and let her go? No one had dared call me a coward in decades. Coming from this newly turned wolf barely out of his sick bed, it should have been laughable. Instead, it felt like a challenge I needed to answer. Your sister's happiness is worth more than my wants, I said finally. Did you ever ask her what would make her happy? Ethan shook his head. You alpha types are all the same. So busy being noble in self, sacrificing that you never stop to ask what the other person actually wants. With that parting shot, he walked away, leaving me standing alone at the forest's edge, questioning everything I thought I knew about protecting Aria. Maybe Cade and Ethan were right. Maybe I was protecting her from the wrong thing. Chapter 7. Enemies at the Gate. Aria. 2 months into my contract, life at the compound had settled into a strange new normal. Ethan had found his place among the new wolves, thriving in ways I'd never imagined possible. The pack was slowly, very slowly, beginning to accept me, though there were still wolves like Sabrina who made their hostility clear. And Cade remained frustratingly distant, despite the bond between us growing stronger each day. I'd taken to exploring the compound during the day, learning its rhythms and secrets. That's how I found myself in the library, a massive room filled with ancient texts about pack history, wolf lore, and territorial law. I was reading about mating bonds when Rachel rushed in, her face pale. Luna, you need to come quickly. There's been an incident. My heart jumped. What kind of incident? An attack. 3 wolves tried to breach the southern border. Marcus and the patrol intercepted them. But, she hesitated. They were asking for you, by name. Ice flooded my veins. I followed Rachel through the compound to the security center, where Cade stood before a bank of monitors, his expression carved from stone. Cade was beside him, along with several other high-ranking wolves I recognized from pack gatherings. They knew she'd be here, Cade was saying. This was planned. Cade's eyes found mine as I entered, and something fierce and protective flashed across his face. Aria, you shouldn't be here. They asked for me. I deserve to know why. He looked like he wanted to argue, then nodded once. Show her. Cade pulled up footage from the border cameras. 3 wolves in human form, all wearing identical black tactical gear, had been captured by patrol. Even on camera, I could see they were dangerous. Trained fighters with cold, calculating eyes. Who are they? I asked. Mercenaries, Cade said grimly. Hired by someone who wants you dead or captured. But why? I'm nobody. You're my mate. That makes you a target. His jaw tightened. Cade, bring one of them to the interrogation room. I want answers. 10 minutes later, we stood in a stark room with concrete walls. One of the captured wolves sat chained to a chair, his expression defiant even in captivity. Cade's alpha power filled the room, suffocating and absolute. Who sent you? The man smiled coldly. Wouldn't you like to know? In a blur of movement, Cade had him by the throat, claws extending. I'm not known for my patience. Answer the question. Go ahead and kill me. There are 10 more where I came from. The man's eyes glinted with malice. Your human mate won't last the week. Cade's claws drew blood, but before he could do more, I stepped forward. Stop! Every eye in the room turned to me. Let me try, I said quietly. Cade looked at me like I'd lost my mind. Aria, please, trust me. For a long moment, he didn't move. Then, slowly, he released the mercenary and stepped back. You have 5 minutes. I approached the chained wolf, studying him carefully. He was young, maybe mid-20s, with a scar across his left cheekbone. "What's your name?" He looked surprised by the question. "Why do you care?" "Because you're not just a threat to me. You're someone's son, maybe someone's brother. You made choices that brought you here." I crouched down to his eye level. "I'm guessing someone is paying you a lot of money to hurt me. But money isn't worth dying for. Help us, and maybe you walk out of here alive. The Alpha won't let me live. Not after threatening his mate. The Alpha will do what I ask him to do," I said with more confidence than I felt. I glanced back at Cade. "Won't you?" His silver eyes were unreadable, but after a moment, he nodded once. I turned back to the mercenary. "So, who hired you?" The man studied me for a long moment. Then, quietly, Victor Volkov. "He's one of the council members coming for the assessment. He wants the Bloodmoon pack for himself, and he's willing to do anything to make sure the Alpha fails." The room erupted in growls and snarls, but I kept my focus on the mercenary. What was the plan? Kidnap you. Use you as leverage to force the Alpha to step down. He met my eyes. But my orders changed this morning. "Victor wants you dead before the council arrives. Says a grieving Alpha is easier to challenge than one with a mate." Horror washed over me. But before I could respond, Cade was there, pulling me away from the prisoner. "Kane, get him out of my sight before I tear him apart. Put him in the cells and guard him personally." After the mercenary was gone, Cade turned to me, and I'd never seen him so furious. "What the hell were you thinking, getting that close to him?" "I was thinking we needed information, and I got it." "You put yourself at risk." "I'm already at risk," I shot back. "Victor is coming here in less than a month with enough firepower to destroy everything you've built. We needed to know what we're facing." "We," he repeated, something shifting in his expression. "You keep saying will. That's what this is, isn't it? Whatever happens to you happens to me?" For a moment, I thought he might argue. Then he pulled me into his arms, holding me so tightly I could barely breathe. "You terrify me," he whispered against my hair. "Do you know that?" I wrapped my arms around him, feeling the tension in his powerful body, the way his heart raced against my own. "The feeling is mutual." He pulled back just enough to look down at me, his eyes blazing silver. "Victor will come for you again, and next time he'll send more than 3 mercenaries. Then we prepare. We fight. I can't lose you." The words were torn from him raw and desperate. "I can't go through that again." "You won't. I'm not Celine, Cade. I'm not going to run, and I'm not going to break." I cupped his face, forcing him to meet my eyes. "I'm staying. Not because of the contract, but because I choose to." "Aria." I kissed him. It wasn't planned, wasn't thought through. I just needed him to understand that I meant what I said. For a heartbeat, he froze. Then he was kissing me back with a hunger that stole my breath. His hands tangled in my hair, pulling me closer as his mouth claimed mine with desperate need. The mating bond flared to life between us, amplifying every sensation until I felt like I was burning from the inside out. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes had gone completely silver, his wolf right at the surface. "You have no idea what you're doing to me," he growled. "Then show me." A Cade. I should have stepped back. Should have maintained control. But Aria was looking at me like I was her salvation instead of her damnation, and my wolf was howling with triumph that she'd chosen us. "Come with me," I said roughly, taking her hand. I led her through the compound to my private quarters, ignoring the knowing looks from Kane and the other wolves we passed. Once inside, I sealed the door and activated the privacy wards, ancient magic that would keep anyone from hearing what happened next. "Cade?" Aria whispered, her eyes wide but unafraid. "Are you sure?" Was I sure? No. This was reckless, dangerous, everything I'd been trying to avoid. But Victor was coming. My enemies were circling, and the woman I was falling for had just kissed me, like I was worth saving. I've never been less sure of anything I admitted. But I'm done fighting this. Done fighting you. I pulled her close again, more gently this time, giving her a chance to retreat. Instead, she rose on her toes and kissed me again, and I was lost. The mating bond surged between us as I lifted her, her legs wrapping around my waist as I carried her to the bed. Every touch sent electricity racing through my veins. Every kiss tasted like coming home after years in the cold. Tell me to stop. I murmured against her throat, my lips finding the claiming mark I'd left weeks ago. Tell me this isn't what you want. Don't you dare stop, she breathed. This is exactly what I want. I claimed her that night, thoroughly and completely. Not with the mating bite, not yet, but with every touch, every kiss, every moment of shared pleasure. The bond between us strengthened with each passing hour, weaving us together in ways that went beyond physical connection. Afterward, she lay curled against my side, her head on my chest, her fingers tracing idle patterns on my skin. I held her close, marveling at how right it felt to have her there. I was wrong, I said quietly into the darkness. About what? About this being just a contract. About being able to let you go. I tightened my arms around her. You've gotten under my skin, Aria Blackwood. And I don't think I can survive losing you. She propped herself up on one elbow, her green eyes searching mine. Then don't lose me. Keep me. The council arrives in 3 weeks, if they decide I'm unfit. Then we convince them otherwise. Together? She kissed me softly. I'm not going anywhere, Cade. You're stuck with me. Promise me. I promise. I knew it was foolish to believe in promises. I knew that Victor and the others would do everything in their power to tear us apart. But lying there with Aria in my arms, feeling the mating bond pulse with warmth and contentment, I let myself hope. Maybe, just maybe, we could survive this. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of preparation and growing paranoia. Marcus tripled the guard around Aria, and I made sure she was never alone. Victor's mercenaries had made their intentions clear. My enemies were willing to kill to weaken me. But they'd made one critical mistake. They'd threatened what was mine. I spent long hours with Kane and my war council, strategizing for every possible scenario. The council assessment would take place over 3 days. Victor, Alexandra, and Theron would judge my leadership, my pack's strength, and most importantly, whether I had secured the succession with an heir. Which brought us to the complicated question of Aria's pregnancy, or lack thereof. The healer says it could take months, Kane said during one of our strategy sessions. And we have 3 days. Then we lie, I said flatly. Tell the council she's pregnant. By the time they discover the truth, it'll be too late. That's risky. If they find out, we deal with it then. But I'm not giving them an excuse to invoke the succession challenge. What I didn't tell Kane was that Aria and I had discussed this privately. We both knew the pregnancy might not happen in time, but we'd cross that bridge when we came to it. For now, we had to survive the council's assessment. The day before the council arrived, I found Aria in the garden, a rare quiet space in the compound where flowers bloomed despite the mountain cold. She was sitting on a stone bench, staring at nothing, and I could feel her anxiety through the bond. Talk to me, I said, sitting beside her. I'm scared, she admitted. Not for me, but for you. If Victor succeeds, if you lose the pack, I won't. I took her hand, lacing our fingers together. Because I have something he doesn't. What's that? You. A mate who actually chose me, who stands beside me not because of duty, but because she wants to. I brought her hand to my lips. That's more powerful than any political maneuvering. I hope you're right. So do I admitted. But whatever happens tomorrow, Aria, I need you to know something. She turned to face me, her green eyes wide. I love you. I said the words foreign but true. I fought it, denied it, tried to push you away. But you refused to give up on me, refused to see me as the monster everyone else does. You saved me, Aria. Not with a contract or a bargain, but by showing me that I'm worth saving. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I love you too. I think I have since the night you saved Ethan, and I realized you weren't the ruthless alpha everyone feared. You were just a man trying to do his best with an impossible situation. I kissed her then, pouring everything I felt into that kiss. Tomorrow we'd face my enemies. Tomorrow everything might fall apart. But tonight we had each other, and maybe that would be enough. Chapter 8, Breaking Walls, Aria. The morning the council arrived, the entire compound was tense with anticipation. Wolves moved with military precision, guards doubled at every entrance, and Cade transformed into the ruthless alpha the world expected. Cold, commanding, untouchable. But I'd seen the man beneath the mask. I knew the truth. Rachel had dressed me in a gown of deep emerald that brought out my eyes, with the Luna's ring prominently displayed. The claiming mark on my neck was visible, declaring my status to anyone who looked. You look every inch a Luna, Rachel said, adjusting my hair one last time. Remember? I know, stay close to Cade, follow pack protocol, don't show weakness. I'd been drilled on this for 3 weeks. The council members arrived at noon, each with their own entourage of wolves. I watched from beside Cade's throne as they were announced. Victor Volkov entered first. A massive man with ice blue eyes and silver, blonde hair, radiating power, and barely concealed contempt. His gaze found me immediately, and the smile he gave me was predatory. Alexandra Demetria was next. A stunning woman with olive skin and dark hair, her movements liquid grace. She studied me with calculating intelligence, neither hostile nor welcoming. Finally, Theron Blackwood, and I felt Cade's shock ripple through the bond. Ethan's last name. This was no coincidence. Theron was older, maybe late 50s, with dark hair shot through with silver and eyes exactly like Ethan's and mine. He looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. Alpha Thorne. Victor's voice boomed across the hall. We've come to assess your fitness to continue leading the Bloodmoon pack. Then assess, Cade said coldly. You'll find everything in order. Victor's eyes slid to me. Including your human mate? Luna Blackwood, Cade corrected, his voice edged with warning. My contracted mate and future mother of my heir. Contracted. Victor practically purred the word. How interesting. Tell me, Luna, are you carrying the Alpha's child yet? I felt Cade's tension spike, but I kept my expression neutral. Pack law doesn't require me to share private information with council members who aren't part of my mate's pack. It was a risk. Pushing back against someone as powerful as Victor. But Jenna had taught me that showing too much deference could be seen as weakness. Victor's eyes narrowed, but Alexandra laughed. She has spirit. I like her. Spirit doesn't produce heirs, Victor countered. Enough. Theron's voice cut through the tension. We're here to assess the pack's stability, not interrogate the Luna on her fertility. Cade, shall we proceed with the inspection? For the next 2 days, the council examined every aspect of Bloodmoon pack operations. They watched training exercises, reviewed financial records, interviewed pack members. Victor looked for any excuse to declare Cade unfit, while Alexandra seemed genuinely interested in understanding how the pack functioned. Theron remained unreadable. I played my role perfectly. The devoted mate, supporting Cade at every public function, showing respect to the council while not backing down from subtle challenges. It was exhausting, a constant performance where one wrong move could cost Cade everything. On the evening of the second day, Theron requested a private audience with me. Cade was furious, but council protocol allowed it. "I'll be fine," I assured him privately. "He hasn't shown any hostility." "That doesn't mean he isn't dangerous," Cade growled. But he let me go, with Marcus and Jenna flanking me as I met Theron in one of the smaller sitting rooms. "Leave us?" Theron said to my guards. "Absolutely not," Jenna responded. Theron smiled faintly. "Protective. Good. But I mean the young lady no harm. I simply want to talk to my niece in private." The world tilted. "What?" "Your father was my younger brother, Aria. David Blackwood." Theron's expression was gentle but sad. "He left the Pack 5 years ago to marry your human mother, against my father's wishes. The old Alpha disowned him, forbade anyone from making contact. I never got to meet you or your brother." I sank into a chair, my mind reeling. "My father never told us about werewolves. About any of this. He was protecting you, hoping you'd never have to enter this world." Theron sat across from me. "But here you are anyway, mated to one of the most powerful alphas in North America. I imagine David is turning over in his grave. He died 5 years ago. Car accident." "I know. I felt it through the family bond. I'm sorry I never reached out. By then, you were adults, living human lives. I thought it would be cruel to drag you into Pack politics." His eyes searched mine. "How did you end up here?" contracted to Cade Thorne. I told him. About Ethan's illness, my desperate search for a cure. The bargain I'd struck. Theron listened without interruption, and when I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "You sacrificed everything for your brother. That's very like your father. He always put family first." Theron leaned forward. "But Aria, you should know that Victor is planning something. Tomorrow is the final day of assessment, and he's going to make his move." "What kind of move?" "I don't know exactly. But he's been meeting privately with some of Cade's Pack members, wolves who are unhappy with his leadership. I suspect he's planning to invoke the succession challenge, and he'll have support from within." Theron's expression was grave. "If that happens, Cade will have to fight Victor to the death, and Victor is one of the strongest alphas alive." Fear clutched at my chest. Can Cade win? Maybe. But Victor won't fight fair. He'll use every advantage. "Including you." "What do you mean?" "He'll try to kill you during the challenge. It's not technically against the rules if done subtly enough. And a grieving, distracted alpha is easy to defeat." Theron reached across and took my hand. "I'm telling you this because you're family Aria, and because I've watched you these past 2 days. You're nothing like the weak human Victor expected. You have your father's strength. Why are you helping us? Because Cade Thorne, for all his faults, is a good alpha. He's kept the Bloodmoon Pack strong and stable, protected his territory, and honored Pack law. He doesn't deserve to lose everything because Victor is ambitious and cruel." Theron squeezed my hand. "And because you're my brother's daughter, and I failed him." "I won't fail you too." I returned to Cade's quarters to find him pacing like a caged wolf. The moment I entered, he pulled me into his arms, breathing in my scent like he'd been suffocating without it. "What did Theron want?" he demanded. I told him everything. About being Theron's niece, about Victor's plans, about the challenge that was coming. Cade's expression went deadly calm. "Tomorrow, then. Cade, I'll win Aria. I have to." He cupped my face, his silver eyes blazing with determination. "Because I'm not losing you. Not to Victor. Not to anyone. What if he tries to hurt me during the fight?" Then I'll tear him apart before he gets within 10 feet of you. His voice was absolute. You're mine, Aria. My mate, my Luna, my love. Anyone who tries to harm you will die screaming. The ferocity of his protection should have frightened me. Instead, it made me feel safer than I'd ever felt in my life. That night, we didn't sleep. We held each other, talked about everything and nothing, made love with a desperate intensity that spoke of fear and hope intertwined. The mating bond had grown so strong that I could feel his heartbeat as if it were my own, could sense his emotions as clearly as mine. We were connected in every way that mattered except one, the permanent mating bite that would seal our bond forever. After tomorrow, Cade whispered as dawn approached. When this is over, I want to do this properly. Court you, give you the choice without a contract hanging over our heads. I've already made my choice, I said softly. But yes, I'd like to be courted by Cade Thorne. He kissed me, gentle and reverent. I don't deserve you. Then it's a good thing I don't care about what you deserve. I only care about what I want. And what do you want? You. For as long as you'll have me. Forever, he said fiercely. I want you forever. Then forever it is. As sunlight crept through the windows, we rose to face whatever Victor had planned. But we faced it together, and that made all the difference. Chapter 9. The Coup. Cade. The final day of assessment began with formal ceremonies and displays of pack unity. Every wolf in the Bloodmoon pack gathered in the great hall, dressed in their finest, showing the council our strength. But beneath the pageantry, I felt the tension. Whispers in dark corners. Glances exchanged between wolves who should have had their eyes on me. Victor had indeed been busy, sowing seeds of dissent. The final assessment was a public forum where pack members could voice concerns or challenges. It was meant to show transparent leadership, but it was also an opportunity for enemies to strike. Aria sat beside me on the dais, regal and composed, her hand resting on mine. Through the bond, I felt her anxiety, but also her determination. Whatever came, we'd face it together. Victor rose from his seat among the council members. Alpha Thorne, I have questions regarding your fitness to continue leading. Ask them, I said coldly. You claim to have secured the succession through your contracted mate. But there's no evidence of pregnancy, no heir. The contract expires in less than 10 months. What guarantee does this pack have that you'll produce an heir in time? The guarantee is my word, I said. And my word has never been broken. Words are cheap. Victor's smile was cruel. Especially from an alpha who couldn't protect his last mate. Tell me, Cade, did Celine die because you were weak, or because you killed her yourself? The hall erupted in gasps and growls. I was on my feet instantly, power radiating from me in waves that made every wolf in the room submit, except Victor, who stood his ground. Careful, Volkov, I said, my voice deadly quiet. That's a serious accusation. Is it an accusation if it's true? Victor looked around the hall. Celine Moreau, promised mate of Alpha Thorne, died under mysterious circumstances 2 years ago. The official report says she was killed by rival pack members, but there were no witnesses. Only her body and an alpha who refused to explain what happened. I was cleared by independent investigation. I snarled. An investigation you oversaw. Victor's eyes gleamed with malice. How convenient. And now you've taken another mate. A human, no less. Weak, fragile, easily disposed of when you tire of her. How long before this one ends up dead in the woods, too? Aria stood, and the movement drew every eye. Her voice was calm, but carried clearly through the hall. Councilman Volkov, you seem very interested in Celine Moreau's death. Almost as if you know something about it that others don't. Victor's expression flickered. Just for a moment, but I caught it. So did Theron. whose eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "What are you implying, human?" Victor spat the last word like a curse. "I'm implying that someone with your resources could easily hire mercenaries to murder a young woman. Especially if killing her would destabilize a rival alpha." Aria's green eyes were steady. "3 weeks ago, your mercenaries tried to kidnap me. One of them is in our cells right now, and he's been very talkative." The hall exploded with noise. Victor's face went dark with rage. "You dare accuse me?" "I dare state facts," Aria continued. "You want Cade's pack. You've wanted it for years. Celine's death served your purposes perfectly. It made Cade look weak, made the pack question his ability to protect those under his care. And now you're trying to do the same thing with me." "Enough!" Victor's power flooded the hall, and several wolves whimpered under the pressure. "I invoke the succession challenge. Alpha Thorne has proven himself unfit to lead. I claim the right to challenge him for leadership of the Bloodmoon pack." "Seconded," a voice called from the crowd. "Derek, the warrior who'd insulted Aria weeks ago." Several other wolves echoed the call. Victor's planted supporters. The succession challenge. Once invoked with proper support, it couldn't be stopped. Victor and I would fight to the death, and the winner would lead the pack. "I accept your challenge," I said coldly. "Name your terms: traditional combat, no weapons, wolf form. To the death." Victor's smile was vicious. "And to make things interesting, your mate watches from the arena floor, not the protected viewing areas. Let's see how well you fight when she's within reach." It was a trap. He'd position wolves loyal to him near Aria, ready to strike the moment I was distracted. But if I refused, I'd look weak, like I was afraid. "Agreed," I said. "But any wolf who touches my mate dies. That's not a threat, it's a promise." "We'll see." Victor turned to the council. "Witnesses." "I'll stand as witness for Victor Volkov," a female voice called. "Sabrina." "Of course." "I'll stand as witness for Cade Thorne," Theron said, rising from his seat. Alexandra remained silent, neutral. The challenge was set for sunset. 1 hour to prepare. As the hall cleared, I pulled Aria aside, my hands gripping her shoulders. "This is exactly what I was afraid of," I said roughly. "He's going to use you against me. Then we beat him at his own game." Her voice was steady. "Cade, I trust you. And I'm not afraid. You should be. Victor is a killer, and he's planned this perfectly. So have we." She cupped my face, forcing me to meet her eyes. "You're going to win because you have something he doesn't. A true mate bond. I'll be there, and you'll feel me through the bond. My strength is yours." "Aria, I love you," she said fiercely, "and I'm not losing you to an ambitious bastard with a grudge. So you're going to go out there, and you're going to tear him apart. Understand?" Despite everything, I felt my lips curve into a smile. "Yes, Luna, Luaria." The arena was an ancient stone circle deep in the compound, carved into the mountain itself. Torches burned around the perimeter, casting dancing shadows. Hundreds of wolves gathered in the tiered seating, their eyes gleaming in the firelight. I stood on the arena floor as instructed, flanked by Jenna and Marcus. Ethan had pushed his way through to stand with us, his young face set with determination. "If anyone tries to touch you, I'm taking them down," he said quietly. "You're a month old as a wolf," I reminded him. "You'll get yourself killed. So, you're my sister. I'm not letting anyone hurt you." Theron appeared beside us, his presence commanding immediate respect from nearby wolves. "I'll stand with you as well, niece. Victor's wolves won't get past me." The protection warmed me, but my attention was fixed on Cade as he entered the arena. He'd stripped down to just pants, his powerful body marked with scars that told stories of past battles. His eyes were already glowing silver, his wolf riding close to the surface. Victor entered from the opposite side, equally massive, equally terrifying. The two alphas faced each other across the arena floor, apex predators about to clash. The council elder, an ancient wolf who served as referee, raised his hand. This is a succession challenge. Called according to pack law, the combat will continue until one alpha yields or dies. There will be no interference from outside parties. His eyes swept the crowd in warning. Begin. Both alphas shifted simultaneously. Bones cracked and reformed, fur rippled across skin, and within seconds 2 massive wolves faced each other. Cade's wolf was black as midnight with silver eyes, powerful and beautiful. Victor's was silver blonde, slightly larger, with ice blue eyes that held only malice. They circled each other, looking for weakness, testing. Then Victor lunged. The fight was brutal, visceral. They clashed in a tangle of fangs and claws, moving so fast I could barely track them. Blood spattered the stone floor. Growls and snarls echoed off the walls. Through the bond, I felt Cade's focus, his determination, and beneath it all, his love for me. It gave him strength, but Victor had been right. It was also a distraction. Every time Cade pressed an advantage, he'd check to make sure I was safe. Every time Victor landed a blow, I felt Cade's pain echo through the bond, and Victor was winning. A massive silver wolf barreled into Cade's side, sending him crashing into the wall. Before he could recover, Victor was on him, teeth sinking into Cade's shoulder. Cade howled in pain, and I felt it like my own. Then I felt wolves moving behind me, subtle, careful, but definitely moving closer. "Jenna," I whispered. "I know. Victor's people." Her hand went to the knife at her belt. "Stay close." Cade managed to throw Victor off, his teeth finding purchase in Victor's throat. For a moment, I thought he had the advantage. Then Victor twisted, and suddenly Cade was down, the larger wolf pinning him to the ground. Victor's teeth hovered over Cade's throat, ready for the killing blow. Through the bond, I felt Cade's resignation. He was going to lose, and when he died, I'd feel it. The bond would tear me apart from the inside. No, I wouldn't let it end like this. "Cade!" I screamed his name, pouring every ounce of love and faith through the bond. "Get up! Fight!" His silver eyes found me across the arena. And in that moment, something shifted. The bond between us flared to life, brilliant and powerful, feeding him strength. With a roar that shook the arena, Cade surged up, throwing Victor off. The black wolf moved like lightning, and this time when he struck, it was with the full force of an alpha protecting his mate. They clashed again, but now Cade was faster, stronger, fueled by the bond and the desperate need to protect me. He drove Victor back, landing blow after blow, until finally he had the silver wolf pinned, teeth at his throat. "Yield." Cade's human voice came from the wolf's throat, an alpha command that couldn't be denied. Victor struggled, but he was beaten. "I yield," he snarled. According to tradition, Cade should have let him up, ended the challenge with Victor's surrender. But I felt the hesitation through the bond. Victor was a threat as long as he lived. If Cade let him go, he'd just plan another attack. Before Cade could decide, chaos erupted. 3 wolves lunged at me simultaneously. Marcus and Jenna moved to intercept. But there were too many. One got past them, claws extended, reaching for my throat. Then Ethan was there, his new wolf form smaller but fierce, throwing himself between me and the attacker. They went down in a tangle of fangs and fur. Theron grabbed me, pulling me behind him as more of Victor's wolves revealed themselves, attacking anyone who stood in their way. The arena descended into madness, the challenge forgotten as pack turned against pack. Through it all, I felt Cade's rage explode through the bond. He released Victor and shifted back to human form, his alpha power filling the arena like a physical force. Enoka, every wolf froze. Every single one, even Victor's supporters, unable to resist the command. Cade stood in the center of the arena, blood-covered and magnificent, pure alpha dominance radiating from every inch of him. Any wolf who raised a claw against their packmates will submit for judgment now. Slowly, shamefully, wolves stepped forward. A dozen of them, including Sabrina and Derek. They dropped to their bellies, throats bared in submission. "You planned a coup," Cade said, his voice carrying to every corner of the arena. "Not just a challenge, but a complete overthrow. You would have torn this pack apart, killed innocents, all for what? Power? Pride?" He turned to Victor, who was back in human form, blood dripping from his wounds. "You invoked the succession challenge knowing you couldn't win fairly. So you planted traitors, planned to murder my mate during the fight, and hoped to claim the pack in the chaos. I did what was necessary." Victor spat. "You're weak, Thorne." "Weak because you love her." He gestured at me with contempt. "That human has made you soft." "No." Cade's voice was deadly quiet. "She made me strong. Strong enough to see through your schemes. Strong enough to spare your life when tradition demands your death." He looked at the council witnesses. "Theron Blackwood, Alexandra Demetria. You've witnessed this challenge and the attempted coup. What is your judgment?" Theron stepped forward. "Victor Volko violated sacred challenge law by attacking non-combatants. He's forfeit all rights to leadership or council membership. I recommend permanent exile." Alexandra rose from her seat in the viewing area, her expression cold. "Agreed. Victor, you're stripped of your territory, your title, and your seat on the council. You have 1 hour to leave this compound. If you ever return to Bloodmoon lands, the kill order will be immediate." Victor's face contorted with rage, but he was beaten. As guards moved to escort him out, he locked eyes with me one last time. "This isn't over," he mouthed. But it was, and we both knew it. Chapter 10. Blood and Bonding. Cade. The arena cleared slowly, wolves filing out in shocked silence. Victor's supporters were being held for judgment. Some would be exiled, others allowed to remain under strict supervision. It would take days to sort through the aftermath. But right now, I only cared about one thing. Aria. She stood across the arena, surrounded by protective wolves. Ethan, bleeding but alive. Theron, who'd shielded her with his own body. Jenna and Marcus, both wounded but standing. They'd protected my mate when I couldn't reach her. And I'd owe them for that for the rest of my life. I crossed to her, and the circle opened, letting me through. She met me halfway, throwing herself into my arms despite the blood covering me. "You're hurt," she said, her hands running over my wounds. "I'll heal." I buried my face in her hair, breathing in her scent, letting it calm my raging wolf. "Are you safe?" "Did anyone?" "I'm fine." "Ethan saved me." She pulled back to look at her brother. "You were amazing." Ethan, still in wolf form, shifted back to human. Someone threw him pants, which he pulled on quickly. "I told you I'd protect her," he said, looking at me steadily. "You did. You have my gratitude and my respect." I held his gaze alpha to wolf. "Thank you. Something passed between us, an understanding, an acceptance." Ethan nodded once, then stepped back, giving us space. "Come on," I said to Aria, taking her hand. "We need to talk." I led her out of the arena, through the compound, away from prying eyes and curious wolves. We ended up on the battlements overlooking the forest, where the full moon was just beginning to rise. "Cade." "What?" I cupped her face and kissed her, pouring everything I'd felt during that fight into it. The fear of losing her, the rage at Victor, the overwhelming love that had given me strength when I'd been ready to fall. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, I rested my forehead against hers. "I almost lost you today," I said roughly. "When I saw those wolves going for you." when I felt your fear through the bond. I've never been so terrified in my life. But you didn't lose me. We won. We survived. There's a difference. I pulled back to look at her, really look at her. Aria, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Okay. The contract expires in 9 months. You'll be free to leave, return to your human life. No obligations. No ties except what we choose. I took a deep breath. But I don't want you to leave. I want you to stay, not because of a contract or a bargain, but because you want to be here. With me? Cade? Let me finish. I gripped her hands. I'm asking you to be my true mate. Not contracted, not temporary. I want the permanent bond, the mating bite, everything that comes with it. I want you as my Luna, my partner, my wife in every sense that matters. I want to build a life with you, have children with you, grow old beside you, if wolves can even grow old. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Are you sure? Once we complete the bond, there's no going back. You'll be tied to a human forever. You say that like it's a punishment instead of a gift. I smiled, wiping away her tears. Aria, you're the strongest person I know. You walked into a werewolf compound alone to save your brother. You survived pack politics, assassination attempts, and me at my worst. You stood beside me when I was ready to give up, and you loved me when I thought I was unlovable. I don't want a wolf mate. I want you. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll be your true mate. I'll take the bite, complete the bond, spend my life with you. Yes to all of it. Joy surged through me, so powerful it made my knees weak. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. She rose on her toes, her lips brushing mine. I love you, Cade Thorne. Not the ruthless alpha, not the fearsome pack leader, but you. The man who saved my brother because he understood what family means. The man who protected me even when he was trying to push me away. The man who's been hurt and haunted, but who still tries to do right by his pack. I don't deserve you, I said for what felt like the 100th time. Good thing it's not about deserving, she smiled. It's about choosing, and I choose you. The moon rose full and bright, calling to every wolf in the compound. I felt my wolf surge forward, desperate to complete the bond to make Aria truly ours. Now, she asked, sensing my wolf's urgency. If you're ready, the mating bite is permanent, Aria. It'll change you, make you part wolf even without the full transformation. You'll live longer, heal faster, be tied to me and the pack in ways you can't imagine. I'm ready. She tilted her head, exposing her throat where the claiming mark had long since healed. Make me yours. I let my wolf rise to the surface, eyes blazing silver, fangs extending. Then I pulled Aria close and bit down on the claiming mark, directly over the old scar. The effect was instantaneous. Power surged between us, the mating bond snapping into place with an intensity that stole my breath. I felt Aria's gasp, felt her hands clutch at my shoulders, and through the bond I felt everything she felt. Love, trust, joy, and beneath it all, the wolf recognizing its mate, when I released her. The mark on her neck glowed silver in the moonlight, the permanent mating bite that declared her mine to every supernatural creature in existence. I feel you, she whispered in wonder. Your emotions, your thoughts. It's like you're inside my head. The bond works both ways. I feel you too. I traced the new mark gently. How do you feel? Different. Stronger. She flexed her fingers, and I saw her pupils dilate, adapting to the enhanced night vision. Is this what it's like for you? Seeing everything so clearly. That's just the beginning. Over the next few days, your senses will sharpen, your strength will increase. You'll never be as powerful as a full wolf, but you'll be more than human. I smiled. Welcome to the pack, Luna. She laughed, then threw her arms around me, and we stood there beneath the full moon. Two souls finally, completely joined. "I have something for you," I said after a moment. I pulled out a small velvet box I'd been carrying since before the challenge. Inside was a ring, not the Luna's ring she already wore, but a simple band of silver etched with wolves running beneath a moon. "A mating ring," I explained. "To match mine." I showed her my own hand, where an identical ring now sat. It's tradition when the bond is permanent. It's perfect. She held out her hand, and I slid it onto her finger beside the Luna's ring. "Now everyone will know I'm truly yours." "And that I'm truly yours," I corrected. "The bond goes both ways, Aria. You have as much claim on me as I have on you." Later, back in our quarters, no longer my quarters, but ours, we consummated the true mating bond. It was different from before, deeper and more intense with the completed bond. Every touch was amplified, every sensation shared through our connection. And when we finally lay tangled together, sated and content, I felt complete in a way I'd never experienced. "Thank you," I murmured against her hair. "For what?" "For giving me a second chance. For seeing past the monster to the man underneath. For loving me when I didn't know how to love myself." She propped herself up on one elbow, her green eyes serious. "You were never a monster, Cade. You were just a man doing his best in an impossible situation. And you never gave up, even when it would have been easier too. I wanted to. After Celine died, I was ready to let Victor or someone else take the pack. I didn't care anymore." I brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Then you walked into my office with your impossible bargain, and suddenly I had a reason to keep fighting. I'm glad I did. Walk in, I mean," she smiled. "Even if I was terrified. You hid it well. I had to. You would have eaten me alive if you'd sensed weakness." I laughed, the sound foreign but genuine. "Probably. Good thing you're too stubborn to show fear." We talked into the night, sharing hopes and fears, making plans for the future. A future that now stretched out before us, full of possibility. Epilogue. Aria. 1 year later, I stood at the window of our quarters, watching the sun rise over the Bloodmoon Pack compound. So much had changed in the year since I'd made my desperate bargain with Cade Thorne. The compound itself had transformed. Cade had abolished the cruelest pack traditions, creating a system that balanced ancient law with modern compassion. Challenges were still allowed, but they no longer had to be to the death. Humans who wanted to join their wolf mates were welcomed, not scorned. And pack members had a voice in leadership decisions, not just blind obedience to alpha command. Some of the older wolves grumbled about the changes, but most appreciated having an alpha who listened as well as commanded. Strong arms wrapped around me from behind, and I leaned back into Cade's embrace. Through our bond, I felt his contentment, his love, and beneath it all, his constant awareness of me. "Couldn't sleep," he murmured against my neck. "Our daughter wouldn't let me." I placed my hand on my swollen belly, where our child, conceived from love, not obligation, was currently practicing her kicks. She's going to be a fighter. She takes after her mother. Cade's hand covered mine, his touch gentle despite his strength. Strong, stubborn, and absolutely fearless. Or she takes after her father. Powerful, protective, and secretly a complete softie. He growled playfully, nipping at my shoulder. "I'm not soft. You are with me." I turned in his arms, smiling up at him. "And with Ethan. And with every new wolf who comes to you for guidance. Face it, Alpha Thorne, you've gone soft. Only for you, Luna," he corrected, kissing me gently. "Everyone else still fears me appropriately." It was true. Cade commanded respect and yes, healthy fear from every wolf in the pack. But they also trusted him in ways they hadn't before. He'd proven himself a leader worth following. not through cruelty, but through strength tempered with wisdom. A knock at the door interrupted us. "Come in," Cade called. Ethan entered, now fully comfortable in his wolf skin. At 21, he'd become one of Cade's most trusted warriors, with a bright future ahead of him. He grinned when he saw us. "Am I interrupting?" "Always," Cade said, but there was affection in his tone. "What do you need?" "Theron's here. Says he wants to check on his niece before the ceremony." "Right, the ceremony." Today was the official Luna coronation, the ritual that would formally recognize me as Cade's mate and leader of the Bloodmoon pack. It had taken a year to plan, and wolves from packs across North America were coming to witness it. "Tell him I'll be down in 20 minutes, I said. After Ethan left, I turned to Cade. "Are you nervous?" "About the ceremony?" "No." "About you standing in front of 1,000 wolves while heavily pregnant." His hand went protectively to my belly. Terrified, I laughed. "I'll be fine. We'll be fine." I paused. "Have you heard from Victor?" "No." He disappeared after his exile, and good riddance. Cade's expression darkened. But if he ever shows his face again, he won't live to regret it. Victor had faded into obscurity. His territory absorbed by neighboring packs, his reputation destroyed. Some said he'd gone feral, others that he was planning revenge. But I refused to let him cast a shadow over our happiness. The ceremony that afternoon was beautiful and overwhelming. I wore a gown of silver that made my claiming mark and mating bite visible, symbols of my bond with Cade. The Luna's ring and mating ring glinted on my finger. Cade stood beside me in formal alpha regalia, magnificent and powerful, his silver eyes filled with pride as I recited the Luna oaths. When the pack howled its acceptance, the sound was deafening and joyful. Afterward, there was a feast that lasted into the night. Wolves from other packs came to congratulate us, to pledge alliances, to see for themselves the human woman who'd become Luna of the Bloodmoon pack. Alexandra Demetrio presented us with a gift, ancient texts on pack law that had belonged to her grandmother. "For when you start rewriting tradition," she said with a knowing smile. Theron gave me a locket containing pictures of my parents. "So you never forget where you came from," he said quietly. "David would have been so proud of you." And through it all, Cade never left my side, one hand always on me. My back, my shoulder, my hand, as if reassuring himself I was real. Late that night, after everyone had left and the compound had finally quieted, we returned to our quarters. I was exhausted but happy, my feet aching and our daughter still kicking enthusiastically. "Come here," Cade said, guiding me to the bed. He removed my shoes and began massaging my swollen feet, his touch gentle. "You don't have to." "I want to." He looked up at me, love shining in his silver eyes. "You gave me everything today." "Aria." A public declaration of our bond, acceptance as my Luna, proof that a year ago I made the best deal of my life. "The least I can do is rub your feet." I laughed, feeling tears prick my eyes. Pregnancy hormones made me emotional, and the bond amplified everything. "I love you. So much it terrifies me sometimes." "I know the feeling." He moved up to lie beside me, his hand on my belly. "A year ago, I thought I was making a simple transaction. An heir for your brother's life. I never imagined I'd end up here, truly mated, madly in love, about to become a father." "Do you regret it?" "Any of it?" "Not 1 second. He kissed me softly. "You saved me, Aria. You walked into my darkness and refused to let me stay there. You showed me that I could be more than the monster everyone expected. You gave me hope. We saved each other." I corrected. "You gave me a purpose beyond just survival. You showed me I was strong enough to face anything. You loved me when I didn't think I was worth loving." Our daughter kicked hard, as if agreeing with the sentiment. We both laughed. "She's going to be a handful. Cade predicted. With us as parents. Absolutely. I snuggled closer to him, feeling content and complete. But we'll figure it out together, just like we figured out everything else. Together, he agreed, his arms tightening around me. Always. As I drifted off to sleep, surrounded by Cade's warmth and protection, feeling our daughter move within me, I thought about that desperate woman who'd walked into the Bloodmoon Pack compound a year ago. She'd been terrified and alone, willing to sacrifice everything for her brother. She'd expected cruelty and gotten devotion. Expected a year of servitude and found a lifetime of love. Expected a ruthless alpha and discovered a man who just needed someone to believe in him. I'd come seeking a bargain. Instead, I'd found home. Author's note. Writing this story has been a fever dream. Give me a moon emoji in the comments below if you want another dreamy werewolf shifter story or blood for a spicy vampire romance. And hit the subscribe button to join our dark circle. You don't want to miss the full moon. See you in the next story.